As much as they may have their issues, there is one thing I actually respect about a few DC movies and TV shows. They're filmed right here in Toronto. See, I bet you didn't know that. Shazam was filmed in Toronto, as was Titans and Suicide Squad. You stay the hell away from Toronto, DC. So the DCEU has been around for a while, and what does that mean? Well, we're starting to get those goofy fringe characters. But that's the thing though, Shazam, Captain Marvel, whatever you want to call him, isn't a fringe character. He's been a staple of DC ever since pretty much the inception of that comic book universe. That goofy part though, yeah, that still applies. Don't believe me? Well, look no further than the exclamation mark in the title, putting it in the loving company of films like Airplane, Mamma Mia, or the laugh-out-loud feel-good romp of 2017, Mother! As much as I poke fun, I've said it in the past, there is a place for this kind of movie. There's a place for stupid, there's a place for goofy, there's a place for a movie where a kid meets a wizard and becomes a superhero every time he tries to remember the name of a failed Shaquille O'Neal genie movie. But it's how I felt about where Shazam's place is that obviously largely determines how I felt about the film. I never read Captain Marvel or Shazam. I only know him because of crossovers like Kingdom Come. I only know him because of his appearances in the new 52 animated films with the entire Justice League. So yeah, that's going to interfere with my enjoyment a little bit. My personal opinion is I think he's a character who's better suited to be a smaller piece in a larger puzzle. And before DC fanboys freak out, I think the same thing about Guardians of the Galaxy or Ant-Man. I never thought that they would get their own standalone film, but here we are. So the question becomes, how do you create a film where you have a niche property? How do you make this movie appeal to the widest audience possible? That is to say, if you want to. I mean, you could do a Captain Marvel film with Crocodile Man and a worm from Venus and somebody's gonna come see it. Regardless if you're DC or Marvel fanboy or, God forbid, both, the fact is you can't deny one thing. The impetus behind making these films for Warner Brothers and Disney is one thing: money. Getting as many butts in seats. So you can't deny they have to make films that do just that. And I do feel that Shazam didn't do just that. I feel that they were catering to a demographic significantly younger than even I. Yes, the old fart still desperately trying to be a YouTube personality. But the fact is, there is one thing that I will give DC and Warner Brothers credit for. They have finally escaped that gloomy Snyder era, where even Superman, for the most part, was mopey. So they went from mopey to dopey. That's the best dad joke I had, I'm sorry. Okay, so while dopey may actually be harsh, it does still somewhat apply, because as much as Shazam should be jovial or lighthearted or fun, it just didn't need to be that all the time. You can pick moments in your tone. You don't have to have the same tone the entire film. A lot of the humor was juvenile and constant throughout the entire film. The mechanisms in which they used to tell the story was simple, even for an origin story, which we've seen several times. And a lot of these characters that were in this film were not just archetypes, they were stereotypes. The entire film was very PG, and again, there's nothing wrong with that if that is, in fact, your catered demographic, but give it a slight edge. I'm not saying you have to make it a rated R Logan vibe the entire time, but give it a little bit of darkness. There have been several movies that can cater to both kids and adults. So why not do that? When I say it had a very PG vibe, what I mean is it's arguably the safest comic book movie I've seen in a long time, certainly in the modern era. Now, as I mentioned, it does escape the previous Snyder era where everything was pure darkness, but why not combine the two, at least to some extent? There was nothing within this film that I felt challenged the adult audience, not just in terms of consequences or, like I said, a dark edge, but really you felt like you've seen it before and you know exactly what's going to happen. Like casting Mark Strong as the villain? I mean, what could go wrong with that, DC? You've got a very solid actor in Mark Strong, so give him more. You tried to give him a backstory to make him a layered character, but it needed more. And your CG monsters, yeah, they were somewhat interesting in terms of concept, but you could have gone further. Give us more. And yet in a film where, ironically, I needed more, I also felt that they played some major cards that they could have saved for a sequel. I won't even say it's a bad movie, because it's not. It's just not made for me. When there are films out there like Guardians of the Galaxy, Into the Spider-Verse, or The Incredibles, where both the adults and the kids are entertained, where they're both challenged, where there are both elements within the story and the movie itself for both of them, I have to ask, why didn't Warner Brothers and DC do that? Why did they only go for half of the audience? As I mentioned, there are people out there who are going to enjoy this film. I just wasn't one of them. It's a burn it. Poll question, what DC villain should Mark Strong play next? As always, leave your answers in the comment section below. But until next time, school's out. Hey Real students, thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe to Real School, click that round Real School logo right beside me. Also click that damn notification bell so you're aware of all of Real School's new content. You can follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link in the description below or the button down there, and you can become part of my Patreon team.